Good evening. Welcome to the school committee meeting of Monday, June 24th. Tonight, we do have our consent agenda with some field trip, and then we have a lot of table items from our previous meeting, and then we'll talk about some subcommittees. Our business manager will be in, and some updates, and then we will be concluding tonight with a very brief executive session under MGL Chapter 38, 21A, subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining as necessary to protect the bargaining position of the public body. Okay, our first item of business was tabled from the previous meeting, and is the Educare field trip. As you notice in our packets, Ms. Coffin has prepared a slightly different form that's more generated towards the summer type program. There's some tweaks, and we'll talk about that later in the agenda. So I think it was in our packets this week. We've had a chance to review it, and I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Still a few questions.
Maybe we can put the motion on the floor, then we can go to questions.
Okay.
A second.
So we'll do it with a second. Okay.
Second, sorry.
Discussion?
Just under section E of the field trip notice here for approval, I noticed it says, has a district nurse been notified about the trip? There's no indication if a district nurse has or has not been notified. There's no indication if a nurse will be required to attend to the trip or not. There's no signature there in regards to that. So I had questions in regards to that.
So the nurse at the school, when nurses was approached, and basically have to make sure that everyone has their immunization and those kind of pieces have to be all set. So I'm not sure if the box was checked or if it didn't fill in quite right. I'm not quite sure. So and so will an on-site be required for the trip? The individuals that participate in the trip from the Educare, which is not it's an after school, it's like a summer camp. All of their employees are trained in CPR. They have their EpiPen and all those needed. And if there's this child with significant medical needs, the parent usually attends the trip to administer if there's like a medication issue that has to be administered on this particular Educare trip. During the school year, with a trip coming out of the school, there is a school nurse that has typically gone on those trips, or an LPN.
So for 90 students, there would be no nurse present if something happens to these children. That's what you're saying?
On this trip, there is not a scheduled nurse, although we have discussed looking at we looked at the policy regarding the nursing, and there is no requirement in your policy that requires a nurse to actually be on field trips. We went through that, and actually I believe that's somewhere else in the packet here. We have talked about an Educare can do what we call an on-call nurse. So we have an agency that would provide a nurse. We looked at providing one from our school to go, but both of those nurses are working during the summer, meeting the needs of the special ed children that need more, have significant medical issues that are being dealt with during the day. So we can provide that, but at this point, we had looked at the policy, and the policy said you didn't need to have a nurse, because again, those individuals are trained. They're all CPR certified. They've had the EpiPen training,
And they're,
and anyone that has a medication that's being administered.
right.
Usually, on the trips that go, the parent would go on the trip with their child. That's sort of what Educare has done. So if there's that need with a medically, significant child.
I find that surprising based on Mass General Law with delegation of medication through Mass Department of Public Health that have told us before specifically that children that are having medication, that's something that has to be worked out with the school district, where there needs to be an order in place with the nurse. And I don't really think that having a parent go to delegate, to give medication, is something that I'm aware of happening in other districts, and this is just news to me. I hate finding out things after the fact or at this table. It says here on the form that nurses are supposed to be present, otherwise I don't know why it's part of our form.
Well, it says, will an on-site nurse be required to attend this trip?
It says,
So-
has a district nurse been notified of the field trip? Yes or no? Neither box has been checked. Then it says, will a nurse be required to attend the trip? Again, no box has been checked. So, it's just confusing to me.
Okay. We can
As
bring this,
why that
I
would
can
be
bring
there.
this, the next school committee meeting is,
We're after
so
the
it's
trip.
after the trip. So I am happy to have a nurse go on the trip. I mean, I do know that we went through, because they do go through on the trips, school nurse before the end of the school year looks, the kids are all, have their immunization, that's what they're kind of looking for to make sure all their stuff is quote up to date. Any medication-specific issues would be then informed of the educare, and as has been done in the past, that if a child has a need to have medication administered on one of these trips, the parent typically goes with the child on the trip as the parent to administer medication. This, again, is like a camp more than, it's not, depends how you look at it, it's a camp, but it's sort of not necessarily an extension or a part of the regular school day. But we're happy to put a nurse on the trip. If it's the desire of the school committee, we can have that done. We'll go to an agency to get a nurse to come, an agency nurse to come out for the day, and that'll be charged to the Educare revolving account. That's where that money would come out of. So I know where the funds would come out of. And I mean, I have no problem with that, you know. And there's 90 kids, and there's also quite a number of, you know, they keep a good high percentage of chaperones to kids on the trip.
If I may, a couple of questions. Has anybody looked into, I mean, this is the dinosaur place. Do they have like a nurse on site there or a first aid station or something like that? And then I also just wanted to say my experience with school-age programs, that children in school-age programs can administer medications as long as all the forms are there and correct. Like if it was a daily medication, that the students can administer an oral medication themselves. And I don't know if that's Educare's policy, but in the school-age programs that I've worked in and oversaw, that is the policy of the state.
It's not the policy of this district, because that's something that I looked
Excuse
into.
me, September has the floor.
Yeah.
That was on my-
It's-
that-
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm going to look at, as I look at this, as I look at a lot of field trips, and we prove like the ROTC field trips, there's no nurse required to go on, when they go on their field trips. They take a ton. We go down to, and many members here have gone down the out-of-state to,
Rhode Island for the,
on the sea cruise. There's no nurse there. And there's no extras. I think that, one of the questions I do have is if a student is in need of medication, you said the parents usually do. Is it
Yeah.
recommended? Is it happening in this case?
in the summer Educare program, that if a child needs medication, the parent goes on the trip with them, you know. They also have their Educare staff, but the parent goes on the trip with them.
Okay.
So that, to ensure that the medication, if the child needs medication, is administered. In reference to something September mentioned, a child that may need an inhaler, typically children will carry their inhaler or EpiPen on them in school. And there is a difference, you have to think about ages, because you're, you know, little ones, you know, pre-K 1, 2, that's kind of asking a lot, but when you're looking at the older kids, and if it's part of who they are as a person and their medical needs, they sort of learn that behavior, they learn how to administer if they need to.
And as well, these students are part of the Educare program, they're going every day to this
Correct, yes.
So unless there's an extraordinary medicine that comes up that day, during the times, I see the hours, 9 a.m., and please, for the records, I'll note and make a change that it's 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and not 4 a.m.
Oh,
There was a typo on that.
typo?
Yes. I'll be voting in favor of this, just with the fact that it's a program that's been running in the schools for a long time. It's a very successful program. It's a popular program. There are more than enough chaperones that are on this, and it's just like they'll be administering medicine any day that would just happen. Mr. Cagnoli.
Yes, thank you. I too will vote in favor of the trip, but I do think I want to take the superintendent up on the providing of a nurse, because I do agree with Mrs. Griffin. I think somebody should be on. I know it's a policy in my district that nurses go on every field trip. There's lots of diabetics, there's lots of other student issues out there beyond just the medication,
Right.
dispensing of medication. So I will certainly vote for it. I think as Mrs. Griffin and I are part of the policy committee, I think we have to take a look, because I just read the policy. There is nothing in there
Yeah.
talking about nurses either way. So I think that's something we should look at.
Okay. So, make an amendment to the motion to add the fact that a nurse will be going with the trip. Do I have a movement on that one? So I'll move that, please.
I'll move
So move
that.
yes, and I have a second.
Second.
So a motion and then the amendment. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 4 in the affirmative and 1 absent to include that of the nurse. Okay, thank you. And thank you for Superintendent to adding that.
No problem.
Okay. Minutes from our June 10th meeting. Is everyone ready to vote on these minutes this evening? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then a motion to approve the minutes of June 10th.
I make motion.
I second.
Moved in second and discussion. Any errors, any changes? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, record show 4 in the affirmative, 1 absent. Minutes are approved. In our packets, as Ken tabled, I'm not going to require a motion on this, but we've got our subcommittee and our assignments. In the standing subcommittees, the policy committee will be Palmina and David. Personnel negotiations will be David in September. School buildings and safety will be September myself. And district accountability and curriculum will be Palmina and myself. And again, there are guidelines and reviews in that packet as well, and that's public information if anyone wants to look at it online. Okay, next one is request for legal counsel. Is that we have attached a set of proposal for legal fees and services and labor, along with what we currently have and some rates. We've had it for a couple of weeks to look through, and I'm going to turn the floor over to the superintendent and ask Dr. Liz to explain the difference between councils in terms of what we use and what types of council, special counsel, and just a
Okay,
quick
sure.
overview for the committee, please.
Okay, so we have the current council, general counsel and personnel or labor counsel. We use Cosgrove and Blatt. Just for your general information, it's my understanding Mr. Blatt has retired, so your general, he retired a few years ago, I believe. So Mr. Cosgrove is the legal counsel that we have been working with. There are times when you need to get an answer or response, and because there is no one else really in the office, sometimes you need to wait. There's not any additional support in the office for that kind of piece. I will let you also know that currently we have a legal issue that you're aware of, that our legal counsel goes away currently for the entire month of July, so he is totally unavailable the month of July. And these meetings are occurring in July, so I had to get another counsel to cover this piece. And so that's who we currently have. And I know that Mr. Cosgrove has been the representative for the district for many years. The other one, Stoneman, Chandler, and Miller. This is a legal firm located out in the Worcester area. We do use Stoneman and this legal firm, specifically Colby Bryan, as our legal attorney for special education issues. So typically, you could use the same firm, but sometimes you want to have a separate firm that's going to handle specifically your special education issues versus your labor and general counsel pieces. So that is a firm, and again, there are multiple lawyers within that firm that we could tap into if needed, but that's where your special ed regs are. Merrick O'Connell is also another firm. This is actually the counsel that was available to deal with this current legal issue, so that we are working with him right now. We're working with Mark Terry, one of the lead counsels there on that. And so they, again, are a larger firm. They have other individuals, if you are unable to reach someone in the office, that they will get you someone who can respond. The other one is Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lehane. This is a firm out in Boston. It's a firm that I'm familiar with, and they're another large firm. Their price obviously is much higher than the other firms, which I think, financially is a piece to look at. The way that the hourly billing rate is quite interesting. Mr. Cosgrove bills on 3-minute increments on the telephone or email. Stillman and the others are typically, they're in 15-minute increments. Although I don't believe Merrick had it specific, but atypically it's a 15-minute increment, not a 3-minute increment for billing purposes, just so that you're aware of that. I don't know if there's anything else I can,
All right, are you looking to appoint counsel this evening?
if possible, yes, it would
help you.
it would be helpful to, because you have the July 1 start, so you'd
Yes.
want to engage in a letter of agreement in retaining. You've had the same counsel for, again, similar, I often look at it similar to auditors. You have an auditor for so long, and you want to change your auditor to make sure that you have fresh eyes every so often to come in. You may want to consider your counsel also.
Okay, thank you. So I guess in the direction of the committee, we're looking at hiring 2 firms. I think I agree with the superintendent, and you have your special ed counsel that just does special ed, and we have our general counsel from there. And sometimes there are conflicting where your counsel, where counsels may conflict on areas. So I would look at, me personally, I have my recommendations. I know I have worked with Mark Terry very extensively in my time working for the town Board of Selectmen. Copeland and Page Merrick O'Connell. Merrick O'Connell was our labor attorney for a long time. We went through a lot of things, and they were very, very good to the town. And we are getting it at a very much discounted rate for the school district. We get a little less than the municipal rate on that one. And I think, in your opinion, Dr. Liz, has Kobe Brunt, I know we interviewed her, 2 years ago. Are you satisfied with her as your special education attorney?
Absolutely. She's done a really good job, and she's very quick and to the point and gets to the piece without a lot of extra, sort of fluff around it. So she's, yes, this is a good move. No, this is not a good move. If you want to get to here, here's what I would advise you. So it can lay it out so we know, what we're doing, and works really effectively. We've just had her on a piece recently, and it's been very good.
That's very good. Thank you. All right. Input from the committee, after looking at those, if you made any phone calls, if you have any background knowledge, Mr. Racco.
Yeah, I wish I did a little bit more research on what other districts do, but I do have a little bit of a concern about having 2 different firms. I did work with Mrs. Blunt when I was in the district, and she was great. I'm not sure why we wouldn't entertain just having that law firm represent us on all capacities. I guess what I want to hear...
You could. It doesn't...
I guess I want to hear, what are the pros? Like, I understand there might be some conflicting things going on within, different types of cases, a special ed or labor issue, but they have...
There are specialties, yes,
lawyers within that firm, so I'm just wondering why we would go outside and not just look to target one firm, so that we're just dealing with one firm. I don't know what other districts do. I'm pretty sure in my district, we just have one firm, and we're a pretty big district. So I just don't know what, maybe someone in the audience or somebody here knows what other districts do. That's why I said I wish I kind of reached out to a couple other places to find out.
Right.
But to me, I feel like we should look at maybe one, but that's just my opinion.
Right. Okay, when I look at it, I look at the specialties. I know that they're very good in the special ed, and that's what, when they interviewed with them, and then I know just from experience with Merrick O'Connell is one of the best labor people out there. And that, what you want to do is, if someone's good at a specialist, you go to your specialist. And that's my opinion, but that's why we have 4 members, and we'll look at it tonight and see if we can get an answer. If not, we table it and keep going as is until we appoint new counsel.
I just was going to ask if we could get some input from Dr. Henrishon on her
Absolutely.
experiences since she deals with that.
Dr. Henderson, please come forward.
Thank you. My question is just that, since you're the person probably dealing with the attorneys with the issues that might come along in the special ed department, are you satisfied with the job that they're doing? And do you feel that they are the best representatives for us, or if we should be looking?
Colby is great. I've been working with her for the last few years since I've come to Oxford. Before that, I was working with a different attorney. I think that she brings a lot to the table. We have also used other attorneys in there, like for another case recently, we used an attorney in there for regular education, and that person did a wonderful job for us too. That's the only, that's all I've done with them at this point in time, because Colby is my main point.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to hear, since, like I said, you're the person who deals with them most of the time. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anyone else?
I think, if I may,
Go ahead.
Mr. Canaglioli makes a really good point that maybe we should take a little bit more time. It would give you an opportunity to, reach out to other districts and get clarifying answers of best practices. It's something that we can certainly do.
Very good.
Quite easily.
Status quo until then.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank
All right,
you.
it's been tabled, and probably for this as well, too, we would need a 5-member board, because it is a major course of action.
Yeah,
for them,
I
for
agree.
them, So, that's fine.
Just one piece, just for Helen's sanity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We've now put this whole piece into 2 packets. Do we not have to put it back in, just so that you know to grab it? That's all I want to ask.
Yeah,
We'll bring it to the next meeting.
We'll bring it to the next meeting, yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
I just want to.
Thank you, yes, Helen. If you just put a note when the minutes come out, to please
Bring your packet.
bring your law packets. They'll be very nice packets.
And also, Mr. Chairman, just for clarification for the superintendent as well, for the month of July, while Mr. Cosgrove is away on vacation, is there another firm that we'll be using?
Probably
We
Merrick.
have a couple of
'Cause-
very recent legal issues that will
Right.
be addressed during the month of July.
And I think the superintendent alluded to that.
Right.
Where her pride was that she was going with,
I was able to get someone at Merrick when I knew this was coming, so I was able to get a response very quickly from them. So again, it's a labor issue, not a special ed issue, so.
Good.
Yes,
Just as a clarifying question, so what did our current counsel tell us, and what are we contracted with him for? If he's gone for, I'm not belittling anybody to take a vacation, but what's the contingency plan? We contracted with this gentleman, or this firm, to represent us, and then he's gone for a month, and now we have to go looking for someone else? Like, what's the language, I guess, in the
The
contract?
contract is you just retain, although you don't pay retainer, you retain his services. So when we call him up, we primarily utilize him. If it's not responsive, if he's not responsive, there's a little bit of chasing around to make sure we get an answer. And sometimes, I'll be honest, it's when you want to get a response or an answer, and it's, well, check with your insurance first and see if your insurance is going to cover this, which I get a little bit of that. So we always have to go back to the town, will you cover this under the insurance? And they say, no, this is not covered under our insurance. This is definitely, you foot the bill as school department for this, and then he will then continue to speak with us.
So when you called him and he said he's gonna be gone for the month, he didn't say, well, I have this firm you could reach out to, or I've
Yeah, no, it's-
reserved or locked in this people?
Yeah, no, he's
That doesn't-
really.
that
he's-
doesn't show really-
He's very much at this point, as I said, his business partner has retired.
I think he's deceased.
He just sees, okay, so, and I believe he's been in practice for quite, about.
Yeah, I was reading, he's been in practice for a while.
Well, so, yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right. Did I answer all the questions, Mr. Blackwell?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Legal counsel there. All right, and then resident process follow-up. Dr. Willis, please, again.
So what I put in here was the process, the residency process. There was questions about the process of when a student, we find out that a student does not reside within the district. So we sort of went through this, and we also gave you some exact dates of how this sort of rolled out this year. When it was drafted, worked with the administrative team, We had some professional development that took place with specifically secretaries, and then we also had, we also did it with guidance counselors on an individual basis, because we did it with the secretaries during a professional development day, but then the guidance were in another professional development, so we went individually with them to go over the process so they understood, you know, when this information needs to come so that we can be responsive to it. And then, so we put that in. We also have Chapter 76, just so that you know what the regulation states about who can come to school. You know, this is from the chapter. And then there were some, and you'll see some emails that were formerly from Dr. Nash, because I believe residency was an issue under her watch also. There were some concerns, and she sort of began to put a process together. But when I came in, I tried to formalize it and make sure that everyone is very much aware of what the process is, so that we, you know, don't miss anything, especially when you're sending out letters and stuff. And you have basically our meeting that we had on the process. You know, the administrative team, you know, asked, Amy represented the administrative team to go through the process. There were a lot of residency issues that seemed to be popping up at the middle school primarily. And then the process that we sort of established out. And then you have the sign-in sheet from the professional development. And then, of course, the documentation for proof and identification of who, you know, when you register, you're supposed to, you know, live in. The issue really becomes when someone has been in Oxford and then they move to a neighboring community and they don't notify us that they've moved, nor do they register their child in the next community, but we find out. And to be quite honest, what typically what happens is all of a sudden a child that moves, they're tardy, or they're absent quite frequently. So that sends a lot of red flags up. So we're working with, gee, you know, you're tardy, what's going on, Mom? And the end result is, you know, they're not saying anything, but they're not living in town, so they're not taking the public transportation that we offer for them. And it causes, it's a disruption to the child. They need to be, you know, educated, you know, in the town where they are. And we do try to do it gently. We speak with the parents, you know, it comes to our attention. We send out the letters, please give us the information. We send it out again, you know, you didn't respond, please give us the information, you know, and so it's a gradual step till we have to say, you know, you don't live here, and we have proof that you're not living here. Homeless is a different situation, which deals with a whole different, you know, we look at obviously that too, but this is when someone has moved out.
Okay, thank you. And also, what I requested last meeting, as it was being tabled for the exclusion requirements in the process, that the vaccination, and as long as similar type processes are being followed when you're excluding a child, that it's not.
It's in your packet, yep.
Yes, it's all in the packet. I saw that. I'm very satisfied with that. Ms. Griffin, you had questions last week, and do you have anything clarifying for what you have information tonight?
I'm just uncomfortable again with students being put into the mix of being brought down to the office. You know, that's all. I don't want students, if they're, even if they're not residents of this town, to feel like they're in the middle of an adult problem. That's all.
Oh, no, I understand that, and the process, you know, when we find out, we don't even bring the child down till there's letters sent out, there's you know, phone calls are made.
Right.
But there's a point where there's, you know, we have to comply, and so,
Right.
and for, you know, that, and I get that, I mean, we all, you know, it's tough.
Right.
Ms. Forbes, first.
Just a quick question. So let's say a family does move out of town in April of a school year and is forthcoming and goes to the school department and says, listen, we moved, can Junior just finish out the year?
We usually do it, yeah, we usually do
Case
a lot
by
of that.
case?
Yeah, if they come in and they say, you know, or we have parents who come in and say, you know what, we're moving, we haven't sold the house yet, we don't know when, we're like, you know, when you get to that point, you let us know, because you never know when a house sale goes, or that whole process, so.
But there are exceptions.
There are,
for
yeah,
students.
there are exceptions, you know,
Okay.
especially when, and I know it doesn't matter for, it should be all children, but someone who's been in the district for 12 years and moves, you know, like after, like in December of their senior year, they're still, they're in Oxford, so those kind of exceptions that we'll say, well,
That case.
you're going to graduate with us kind of piece.
And what does the
we'll make-
law say about that? That's on the up and up, because to me, it's like, if the law is written, the law is there. Does the law specify that districts can allow a kid to finish out, or are we doing something that would be not following the state's recommendation? Do you know that that's legal?
After October 1, October 1 is the count, is the legal
Right.
count. So financially, it doesn't make any difference, and that's where the state looks a lot at that for the financial piece. I think it's sort of on the human side, if you have someone who's been, you're looking at, if someone moves in September, October, it's early enough in the year, they need to go and adjust. But if it's something that's really past that second marking period, especially after April, is it legal? I would have to ask the state if there's that solid cutoff date. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I wouldn't want to do anything illegal.
Right.
But you also want, as you just said, you don't want to traumatize students, so, it's sort of a catch-22 there.
Okay.
But we do follow a residency process, so if we know that you've moved, these are the steps that we go through to give you plenty of time and to help you with the process. We sometimes get parents say, well, I just didn't realize that I'm supposed to register in the town where I live. I just thought that once I'm here, or my kids started school here, this is where they should be. So, so we explain that to them, and then we say, no, this is where you need to go, and we call the town and say, expect, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so to come over, they have children in such and such a grade, they've been living in your town, and so we work with them, because usually the movement is between us and Webster or Leicester, sometimes Southbridge, so it's, we work, the data people that registered, they all work together.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Knuckle, you next.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of clarifying points. So I look at the OXPS residency process, the bottom of that page, the last bullet, and then the 3 bullets underneath. Is that sequential, or is that something, because to me, it should be, if the student does come to school, the building administrator should contact the parent, maybe get the resource officer involved, and then the last thing should be having the kid come to the office.
Well, that usually is the right, that usually is the
So that's what I'm
right.
just
Oh, I
asking.
see,
It's a
yeah.
process, I mean, I don't know if it's
Yeah.
sequential, I don't know if somebody's just gonna look at it and say, well, that's the first thing I need to do.
No, that's not the first, yeah,
So
no.
just maybe take a look at that.
Sure.
Right.
Second thing, to kind of piggyback on what September was talking a little bit about, maybe some language in there that does talk to parents about, if you are leaving the district, please come forward, we will, I don't know how you write it, but give them a way to come forward and maybe be able to petition to you to stay for the remainder of the school year. Again, depending on the legalities of it.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think the March, April-ish time, kids should be able to finish out the year type of thing, but I don't know the legal part.
Right.
But if we could look at that, maybe put some language in there. The third thing, so this is a process, not a policy. So if this was
It's
a
a policy,
policy, then we should have, somebody on our board should have been involved. So
Correct.
this is just a process.
Process, right.
So where is this process where people can find it? Is this in handbooks?
This is really more of an internal operational process, because it's how we handle when we find out an individual has moved out of district. What are our steps that we need to do to take to notify parents, to make sure that we can help, figure out where the kid needs to go, et cetera. So this is more our operational piece. But with the registrar's office, and one reason why it was moved out of individual buildings is because it needed to be consistent and controlled, so if people go to one place, they enroll, unenroll, et cetera. But we can probably have something there, note or flyer or whatever represented, and probably on the website saying, if you move out of district, please contact the office so that we can help you with the paperwork needed to go to your next.
Right. So
Next
that's my
school,
point.
yeah,
If we don't, if we don't have an out for parents, so to speak, or a place where they can find the
Find it, yep,
language that they
absolutely,
need, then how can we expect them to do what they're supposed to do? So
Right.
if
No, we can do
some
that,
language
yeah.
can be included there, like, when you are exiting, or you are moving out, or you have relocated, here's the steps you need to follow.
Yep, we can do that.
So that people can.
Yeah,
you
I know there's specific steps, there's a registration card, and there's a whole process that's involved in it. So but parents have a portion of that, but we have more of it because it's transferring of records, and they have to sign releases and all that. So we can actually put, when a student, the process for exiting a student, that makes perfect sense. We can do that.
Thank you. Anything else? Again, it's a process, and so, again, it'll come up again next meeting, and there's some revisions, a little bit of work to add to that. All right. Next item, we get in our packets a professional development report and the curriculum maps, which were followed from last meeting. Again,
Oh, here we go.
we do not have them in print, and I know I haven't had a chance to go through all of them, and probably board members as well. So this is FYI in terms of information coming from the superintendent to individual members. So, any discussion, anything anyone's good with that for now? Yes?
Just real quick, like you just said, we just got the Atlas maps, but there are staff members indicated on there that have been out of the district for 4, 5, 6 years. So just
Right, yeah, no,
people aware, and that might indicate that hasn't been touched in.
Right, on the A through, the A through 12. So the curriculum maps that you have for the elementary, what you're looking at is the literacy piece that has been done throughout this year, working with Novak and the literacy coach and the principals and the Title I staff and the whole kit and caboodle. So these have been worked on and done, and the next phase of this is getting all this up into Atlas. So that is sort of in process now, because what was in Atlas was old, so this has been all realigned. I will let you know, and I cannot give you details right now. We elementaries, wrote for a grant for tiered math, and we just found out Tuesday, last week, Wednesday, no. Friday, I think I got Friday night, that we were accepted into the program. So it is a grant so what has been done with Norvac, with all the literacy, we are now going to begin to go into that for all the mathematics at Chafee and Clara Barton. So that's a huge bonus. So we're moving along in there. There's a tremendous amount of work that goes into this with limited time, that we have between PD and planning time and all those pieces. So in the 8th grade, now the maps from the high school, we gave you what was there. Some of the maps are updated, some maps are not updated. And as I mentioned to you before, the NEASC accreditation, we know that curriculum is going to be is really going to be the major focus, because that's what came out with their assessment and what their building looked at as they really did begin to do that deep dive into the self-evaluation under Dave's leadership. And so with that, those are going to be, that's going to be the work at the high school, to get that done.
When will the school committee get a copy of that report?
The interim, you know what, we had the exit, we haven't gotten the report yet.
Okay.
We just, I'm not expecting to see it till maybe August,
Yeah,
to be quite honest.
The exit findings, you get a copy of those?
The exit finals,
The exit report. This reference the exit.
They met with us, they did a verbal report exiting,
Okay.
but they haven't given us the written report. You know, they're.
I understand that,
So,
yeah.
so we'll,
Okay,
Any documents that have been given to you, this committee would like,
yes.
any and all.
Including a summarization of scientific notes during what was presented back.
Sure.
From that exit, they said the exit report that they gave.
Yeah, I meant, and they do the exit interview, and then they write the report.
Right, that report.
Yeah.
Usually it's a short report before you get the long report.
Right, but it's the new process. It's the new NEAS process, so that it's different. It's not like they had the full panel with the full-blown one. This is where they only came in for a day and a half or 2 days. So it's it's almost like the pre. You do your self-assessment, and then they went around, did their interviews, their focus groups. They confirmed what we saw, what we said, or they said, the reports, the information. And then we're waiting for that piece that's going to help them then focus for the bigger review that comes in 2 years, because they changed the whole process. I probably should get for you guys the new NIAS process, if you're not familiar with it, because it's the cycle is completely different now.
Also,
And they just
too-
launched that like this past year.
Could you put that on copy in the office, as well as all documentation prepared by Principal Nugent and his
Sure.
staff? I'm sure that there are binders.
There's binders,
There's
yeah.
everything that they've done for a copy in central office.
we can do that.
So we can come in and peruse.
Oh, absolutely.
Out
Yep.
there.
Sure.
Thank you.
Great suggestion. Then it's just on file, like if anything
it's right there,
is
yeah.
done.
Come in and look at it and say, where is it? You know, there's no sense sending it all to us, it's way too much work to go in there, we spent 2 hours and reading it.
Right.
Okay, all right, thank you. Anything else about moving on? Good, we can move on the business correspondence. Okay, we all have our subcommittee study groups, and Mr. Ledoux, please, you're next up. Good evening. The first thing I see in our packet is the copy of the Modernization Act.
Correct.
Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Coonan, members of the committee. The first item I have for you was just a clarification point on the warrant approval process. I'll kind of start at the end and work backwards. So, start of June 10th meeting, so the last time you met, you may or may not have noticed the payrolls that were previously voted were now moved to more of a report at the bottom. And the reason why that was done is we had a situation a few weeks back where it was a little bit of confusion regarding the approval process, where currently, as part of your policy, you have a designated person to authorize the warrants. We got to a meeting and just procedurally, an attempt to vote on it was made. Well, lo and behold, those bills had been processed 2 weeks prior, so there's no way to really stop it. So when I kind of stepped back and looked at everything that was going on, I said, well, geez, this approval process through the meeting is kind of, it's antiquated. And I'll kind of give you a history. So if you don't have anything in your town charter speaking to the warrant approval process, it automatically defaults where the school committee, in your case, would need to have a majority vote to approve warrants. That's the way it was done right up until November of 2016. We had the Municipal Modernization Act that we could adopt, and it was a little bit before my time, it's my understanding, I think March of 2017, that was adopted, and you designated an authorized person to review the warrants and authorize them. So that's where the confusion lay, whereas procedurally, you still did the vote. However, kind of in the background, I don't want to say in the background, but you had somebody already authorizing payment. So when something was questioned, there was a lot of confusion as to how do we authorize this. So I just kind of want to bring that to your attention, so it's clear that you have a designated signator that reviews the warrants, that's sort of payables and payroll, and authorizes them. So again, kind of jumping forward, now you will see as part of your agenda, it's now a report to the rest of the committee as to what was approved. And I think that'll make a good baseline just to move forward so everybody's on the same page as to how this works. So if any changes or policy wants to be discussed, that's the baseline of how this operates. So just going forward, I think Helen may have received just today the actual schedule from the town hall for all the payables. So we will get that to you. So you have ahead of time every date that these bills will be paid. And just general rule of thumb, it's normally the date of the warrant. So if you have something dated for next Tuesday, it will be paid next Tuesday. In case there's any question as to the timeline. These are always, in regards to payables, submitted on Wednesdays, so you have from that Wednesday to the next Tuesday to discuss or pull an item or whatever you would like to do. So you have roughly 6 days to review that. So I just want to be clear on the kind of timelines and how that stuff works. I'll be happy to answer any questions. If you want to.
Just a clarification question. So because of our policy and we have the approved signer, we as a committee do not any longer vote on that once we're here? Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay.
The
Is that
authorized
kind of a
signature-
double, doing the same thing twice? It's pre-authorized and then we vote on it after the fact, basically? Because the way our policy is, right?
Yeah, you can't have both,
Both,
because if
okay.
you have your authorized signature authorizing something, and then after the fact, the committee votes on it,
Okay.
it's really a conflict. You can't really have two bodies authorizing something.
Process. It's almost two processes.
Correct.
Right.
So, based on the policies and everything I've researched, the authorized signature is the one with the power to authorize these things.
Thank you.
Mrs. Griffin?
I just have concerns because I know in the past, sometimes these things get scanned and they get sent to us, and sometimes we have technology issues, and, we might have to make a trek down to the central office, or it might take us longer than anticipated to review the warrant, depending on the size of the warrant. It takes me 4 hours sometimes to go through those with detail. I want to make sure that if I see something that I don't think is on the up and up, that I have an ability to put a hold on it. And I'm kind of concerned that if there's just one person signing, that not all eyes will be looking at this all the time. I think now with this school committee present, that we'll probably all be looking at it, but I really want to make sure that if there's a concern, that there is a way for us to make a hold, and, it's not just Mrs. Forbes calling the shots here for the whole committee.
If I may, I just want to speak to
Please, go
a
ahead.
couple things in regards to that. It clearly states in the law that because you have a single person authorizing this, it doesn't take away the responsibility from the rest of the committee. So I just want to make that clear, that although you do have that one person, it clearly states in the law, it is the responsibility of the rest of the members to review it. So, also, and I'm going to kind of speak to the spirit of this law. When I read this and interpret it and kind of think about what it's trying to say, I believe it's written in a way that if the committee believes that somebody isn't effective with reviewing or authorizing things they shouldn't, the committee can then elect somebody else. And I'm speaking strictly to the law. I'm not digging into policies or anything like that. I just want to put that out there. I believe that that's the way this law is written to address that issue. So to kind of jump forward, to have the ability for a member, I would say at this point, I want you to go through the proper channels. So I would contact the authorized person and tell them that, hey, you need to pull this bill and, or not authorize payment.
So the authorized person, for clarification, if I may, through the chair, would that be Mrs. Forbes, who's like looking at our warrant, or would that be back to you? Who would be the authorized person if we have a question for a bill?
I would cover all bases. I would include through the chair to myself and the designated authorized person, and I would include the superintendent. That's how I would go about it, to make sure everybody is alerted of something.
And actually, can I just cut?
Yeah.
I do have a motion. I don't know if Helen prepared the motion, or you prepared the motion in terms of this? Helen, did you prepare the motion? no.
Just for your information.
Okay.
It's not a motion to actually take place tonight, it was just a motion.
Well, it's actually a motion for the signer, because we haven't approved September as a signer yet. She wanted to keep that on, but we do need a motion, and I think, and reading this motion, it does cover all of this. So, okay, so I move that September Forbes, and if she is unavailable or unable, Daniel Cohen be designated to approve all bills, drafts, orders, and payrolls not otherwise presented for approval at a posted meeting to the full board, provided, however, that if such bills, drafts, orders, and payrolls are approved by September Forbes or Daniel Coonan, each shall make available to the board at the first meeting following such action, and record a record of such actions, and further to ask Daniel Coonan or Helen Coughlin to include a notice for each meeting of the board an item for such purposes. So basically, I think that answered that at the end, that if something is pulled, notify myself, Helen, and then a courtesy, through September, that it'll be on the next agenda. Yes, you had something.
So my question being, payroll has to be signed in a timely fashion so that the checks can go out.
Correct.
So as Justin pointed out, we have essentially 6 days from receiving the warrant to when I actually need to sign. So A, I need to sign close to the end of that 6-day period. Once it's payday, those checks go out. So looking at that at our next meeting could be 2 weeks later, which is exactly what just happened that we're trying to avoid. Once it's signed and approved and paid, then what do we do?
I hear that, but it's specific pieces. As the warrants come out, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have payroll warrants, and you have accounts payables.
Correct.
Accounts payables is your bills. There's no one here that has the authority to pull someone's check. That has to be paid, people have to be paid however on a bill.
Yeah.
That's where the clarification would come up, and looking at an expense for a reimbursement, and something doesn't look right. So those would come out, so there are separate warrants that go out.
Correct, and just quickly, so you have 6 days to review the accounts payable warrant. Payroll, it's much quicker. We submit that normally on a Tuesday, and that's done for that Thursday, so you would only have 2 days to review it. And just to kind of put your mind at ease on this one, all reimbursements are paid through AP now. So I myself am experiencing a high volume of account reimbursements for things. So there would not be a reimbursement that would go through payroll that wouldn't be authorized, we'll put it that way. So.
Does that make it a little clearer to both September and Mrs. Griffin? Mr. Connectly, too, any questions, let me know.
I guess one question that I do have, and it's in regards to the spirit of all this, is reimbursements. I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around how that all works. Every time I go through a warrant and see like all these things reimbursed all the time, who gives authorization before money is spent that it will be reimbursed? Or do we just say after somebody does something that we're going to reimburse it? It's like, what is the procedure? I see so much where, people go out and they get supplies or they get material, and I know we're going to speak tonight about like how we go through the budget and we have these things that we go out to bid on, yet all year long it's like this constant cycle going through the district of things getting reimbursed. It's kind of confusing to see that happen. I don't work in a district where that ever happens. It's,
Correct.
But it happens in Oxford all the time. I find that kind of something that I think we need to get better control upon. And I want your insight in regards to that. I mean, where does that money come from to reimburse all these people? How does that work, that all of a sudden we can do that?
Okay, I will back up a little bit with that. So
Yeah.
we did, just this past year, implement, with the changes in software, doing reimbursements through the AP, through the accounts payable process. And I'll agree with you 100%. It's eye-opening, the number of reimbursements. I wasn't aware of the number. It's a lot just for the staff to be processing the number of reimbursements. And to kind of speak to your question on the way it's approved, it's my understanding that whomever goes out would need the principal's approval. They would check with the principal, hey, I don't have time to go through the AP process, or I'm going to run to the store and get those markers, for example. Would that be okay? It's my understanding they would receive approval from the principal, who would then enter in a requisition. It would end up on my desk as a purchase order. We would send that back, as all purchases require a purchase order. That's my understanding of how it works. In a perfect world, that's what would be happening. Can I say that happens for every instance? There's a lot to it, so I can't truthfully say that it happens every single time. But I agree with you 100%. It's something I would certainly like to get a handle on this year, simply because I see the amount of time that our staff puts processing receipts that we get from various, wherever they go. So I hope I answered your question.
Kind of.
Mr. Connectly.
So I guess you had me the whole way, and then I got a little concerned towards the end there.
Yep.
So if there is a process in place, the only way it's getting on the warrant is if you approve it. So are there things getting on the warrant that you're not approving for reimbursement? Because it sounded like you were alluding to the fact that there's reimbursements being done, but the process is not being followed. So you would be the guy, so when I was here in my current district, I sign off on reimbursements. Then it goes to the superintendent business office for approval, then it gets processed.
Correct.
So it sounds like we have a process where the teachers are filling it out, principals are approving, then it goes to you to approve, then it gets on the warrant, right? So, but I heard you say in there that that happens some of the times, but it's not happening all the time. Did I hear that, or am I?
No, I said I cannot say if it happens all the time. I honestly don't
they're
know.
not
And
getting
it's a
reimbursed.
timing thing.
They're not getting reimbursed then if they're not following the process.
Correct, eventually, it has to be approved by myself.
okay.
Before it makes it to AP, absolutely. The thing that's a little bit concerning to me, and I can't truthfully speak to this because I don't know for sure, is that purchase being made before anybody was asked? I don't know. I can't speak to that.
Well, I mean, if a teacher wants to go out and purchase things on their own and not have, pre-approval or
Yep.
talking to the principal and saying, yeah, go do it, and then we'll fill out the reimbursement, that's on them. So.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
The process needs to be followed.
Yeah.
The other question I have, we don't reimburse tax,
No,
right?
no, no. So if somebody does pay tax,
Exactly.
we do not reimburse that. Correct.
Excellent, thank you.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you.
No, that's fine.
No, I think I kind of follow what you're saying, because in the true spirit of the process is everything's purchase ordered.
Right.
If everything can be purchase ordered, but things come up, emergencies come up, and I think, as I'm interpreting what you're saying, is how much of those are real emergencies, or how much are like, hey, I just gotta go get this and get it done quick, instead of waiting for a purchase order to go through, because it does take time for a purchase order to go through.
100% correct. And that's more what I was talking about. Is the purchase being made before I issue a purchase order? That could be the case.
Yeah, that's, exactly, and that's, and that's.
And it's just impossible for, if somebody needs something on the fly, for us to go through this whole process, that person have the purchase order in hand, so I can't say that everything has a purchase order before the purchase is made. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's a total work in progress.
Correct.
With more experience, more time, principles and training, you'll get close. But that's never a perfect world, like you said. Good. Anything else? Anyone else? All right. Next up in our packets, we have audit reports. That's for reading, and Justin, do you have anything, some quick results for us?
Just quickly, I'd like to speak to two of these reports.
Please do.
Excuse me, I'll speak to all, but this is for the audit town-wide, so it's not only the school. So this one that's titled Management Letter, this is for the town as a whole. There's nothing specific to the school, so I just want to make you aware. It's more for information if you feel like taking a look at it. And also the basic financial statements. This is for the entire town. This is every fund across the boards. So I'm not going to get into detail on those, but you have it for your own information. And if you have a question after the fact, just, you certainly ask it after the meeting. However, the two ones I do want to speak to are the end-of-year financial report and the single audit. And I will start with the single audit. Now, the single audit is required as part of our annually because we receive over $750,000 in federal monies from grants. So as part of our normal audit throughout the year, the auditors also do the single audit, which is only on the grant pieces, just so you understand what that's
Could
for.
you just steer us to the page?
I'm going to go right to the last page of this, of the single audit, and this is the good stuff. This is the findings, so this is what they found when they went through our federal grants. What happens is we have to send out,
Which one? We have
one
like
that says
five.
single
I'm sorry, it's the one that says single audit as the second line down.
Okay,
I was gonna say,
thank
talk
you.
about
In the same order as mine, it's the
Single
third
audit.
packet in.
Appreciate it. Okay, thank you.
And I don't know what order they're in, so.
Got it.
And the very last page is one item that the auditors picked up on, that we are required to send out letters to surrounding private schools, more or less offering up entitlement grant money. Normally, they don't participate, however, we're still required to offer it. And when we sent out the letters, we said, okay, here's a portion of our Title I funds. And the auditors said, you have to also include 2A and Title IV, the other two entitlement grants that we get.
Right.
So that's a pretty small one. We've already revised the letter, and the letters that went out this past spring did include Title I, Title IIA, and Title IV. Again, it's highly unlikely that they would participate, but we still have to offer it. Again, that's to offer the private schools in the area a portion of our entitlement grants.
And so would that portion be based upon Oxford population attending that school?
Yes.
Please, yeah, please, Lieutenant. Yes, please.
It's based on, yeah, it's based on.
So for Title I, Title II, and Title IIA and Title IV, it's supposed to be a portion of it. However, the way that the requirements read from the federal government is the only private schools that are allowed to get any of our money that we get for the town is if the schools actually are within our confines of Oxford. We have no
don't have any.
private schools within the town.
We don't?
So therefore, no.
I think we
We
have
do.
one on the,
Oak Hill.
Christian Hill,
yeah,
right.
Okay,
Sackarapp or whatever road by that way.
Exist anymore.
It
Oh, it doesn't exist, they closed,
doesn't
okay.
exist anymore.
Oh.
They closed last June. So Title IIA and Title IV, we don't share it with anybody because of the fact that we have no schools within the town. Title I, the only way that they get a portion of it is that they need to show us any students who are low income, and the students have to be showing that they are not making effective progress in Title I. So therefore, when the letters get sent out, it does say Title IIA and Title IV. However, I clarified it to say that the school needs to be within the, the boundaries of Oxford for Title IIA and Title IV. For Title I, then they call me, contact me, they send the letter back, and then they need to do a consultation time after that with me. The second time around, when we do the consultation, they're supposed to also bring their data with them. Generally, they decline the meeting with me. So, in answer to your question, yes, we are supposed to give a proportionate share of it to them, but they need to meet the requirements through our office, and at this point in time, of the 3 years that I've been here, that has not ever happened.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
How did we do in regards to our grants? I know that was something in the past that was concerning for journal entries and whatnot. We weren't in compliance in the past, remember?
We've had, when I had first started here, yeah, we
Right.
had probably close to 10 or 12 findings in
Right.
a single report for 15 and 16. Last year, we didn't have any.
Nice.
This year, we had one in just regards to
And
the
just
letter,
this.
did not reference Title IIA and IV. So,
So we're making progress.
yes.
Yes,
It's good.
yay.
Yes, Mr. Knapple.
Let's go back to the single audit report.
Yes, sir.
Just a clarifying question, kind of new to me. Page 8 of 11 talks about the $48,783 that was received as non-cash commodity from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And then it says it's not included in financial statements, but then I saw somewhere else in here, it does look like it's included. Can you, what is that? What is that, I guess? What is that money? Because when I look at the financial report on 7 of 11, it does include it there. Oh, excuse me, not 7 of 11. 6 of 11. That 48,783. I guess it's just for clarification for me. What does that mean?
Non-cash assistance commodities.
Yeah, so this is in regards to the commodity food that's received by the school lunch program.
But then it says it's not
So-
included in the financial statements, but then I see it in the financial.
So, and I'll kind of go on a limb here on this one. I believe what they're talking about, we don't record that as part of our general ledger. I don't record that we received, 48,000 in commodity foods. However, as part of their, what was awarded on this sheet,
They just,
they list it, is my understanding of what they're trying to say.
that makes sense.
Okay.
And then I just want to steer back to the packet that says report on applying agreed upon procedures over compliance applicable to Massachusetts school districts under the financial report. So probably that first report, the overview, and this just jumped out at me, and I don't, maybe you can talk to me a little bit about somebody on the board. First paragraph, couple sentences down. In fiscal year 2018, the town enjoyed a significant new growth in both its residential real estate as well as its commercial and industrial property tax bases, additionally assessed property. So, how did that affect the town financially? How did that support us? There's obviously new money that came in. Did we see any of that? How did that go? Like, I guess I'm just asking for some clarification on that, because, it seems like we enjoyed a significant new growth.
What that is
Boosted up the tax
speaking
base.
to, so, in regards to Proposition 2.5, with existing properties, and again, this is my understanding of it, so please take it with a grain of salt, as I'm not an expert. New growth is any new properties which would be beyond the 2.5. So with your existing properties that are in town, taxes may go up to 2.5, and you can't go beyond that. But then you have to take into consideration new buildings that are built and now added to the tax rolls. So that's what that's talking about, saying that there was a lot of new growth in town, a lot of new houses and stuff like that put in. What does that mean for the school system? I can't quantify that, to be honest with you.
Because saying the total fund balance in the general fund increased approximately $821,000 in fiscal year 2018. So again, I don't know what those numbers look like in prior years. I guess maybe that's a question that, or more research I'll have to do, but that certainly jumped out at me as a positive. I mean, I'm not here pointing fingers at anybody or saying people aren't sharing the money or anything like that. It just seems like a really positive statement, positive for the town, and, maybe it's our job to talk with the other departments and see where.
And I'll just speak briefly on that, Mr. Connectney. We saw that of a lot of our capital items. At town meeting, the town manager did approve many of our capital items. We got, the track, we're waiting on the bleachers, and
I believe all 3 vestibules are going to be done. We have to, the bid was opened on the
Yeah, so that was the
overhead.
prior year.
Okay.
Appropriation to a building improvement fund to redo the overhangs. That was approved last year. So just kind of a side note, the bid was just opened. I believe it was awarded, I'd have to check with the DPW director, but $126,000 to do the 3. So that's kind of what we're working on now. I haven't touched base with him whether or not that's been awarded yet, but I'll just update you on that.
that's a really good point, Mr. Connectney, with the capital items. Yes, she was, town manager was very generous.
Excellent.
With the school department in that, and I know she helped out a little bit in our budget, but then again, they could be non-recurring funds.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. I just to back up a bit on the authorized signer. I made the motion on the table, and I read that motion for Mrs. Forbes to be the signer, myself as the backup. I need a second on that motion.
A second.
Second by Mrs. Forbes. Any discussion on that? On our updated Municipal Modernization Act?
Just for clarification.
Yes.
So if we have questions, we're supposed to email yourself, Justin, Mrs. Forbes, our superintendent, and I did hear Helen's name mentioned at the end.
His name, because her and I do prepare
Okay.
the agenda to make sure that the item is put on the agenda.
And what days should questions be in? No later, we have 6 days, no later than, do we want to say on the 6th day, on the 5th day, on the?
I'm going to yield to you, Justin, on that. And the question is, what would be the date that we have to get a hold on items?
Preferably before the warrant date. So I would ask that it be the Monday prior to the warrant date. So the warrant date's always Tuesday. I would ask, please, before the warrant date, because once that warrant's processed, it's extremely difficult to undo everything that's been done.
And excuse me, just one question.
Yes.
And we get that email to us, what, about Tuesday or Wednesday for the following week?
Usually on Wednesday.
The upcoming,
Yes.
it's normally done Wednesday afternoon. You should
Wednesday,
have it
okay,
done.
Wednesday,
Because we have to have
Wednesday.
our stuff into town hall for processing by noontime, and that's when it's all scanned and sent to you folks.
So by Monday morning,
Correct.
Monday at noon time.
By Monday at noontime, if there's something.
Sign in on the Tuesday.
By Monday at noon, Ms. Griffin, that good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It is what it is. Thank
All
you.
right, yes.
So just to clarify, that means that I don't go in to sign that warrant until after 12:01 on the Monday?
Please,
Okay. If I don't hear from anyone?
yes.
Okay.
And if you can't, you contact me, and I'd have to get in there as well, too.
Okay.
By Tuesday, it's going to be signed by Tuesday, correct?
Yes.
Correct, correct.
Monday night to Tuesday, yeah. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Roll call vote. Mrs. Phillips.
Yes.
Mr. Connectney. Mrs. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Coon will vote yes. Record show affirmative, one absent. Municipal Modernization Act passes.
So I'm just going to jump back.
Yeah, please do.
If I may, to the audit reports. So the next one I'd like to speak to just quickly is the end-of-year financial reports. So this is directly deals with the school. So every September or so, I submit the end-of-year report. And what the state does with that is they use that to measure to see, is the town meeting net school spending? So you take what we have spent as a school district, what the town has spent on our behalf, and they use that to make sure that the town is meeting net school spending. Does that make sense? So that's why it's extremely important that this report is accurate. So when the auditors come in, they check for accuracy. We had two findings on this, and they were kind of related for the way that it was reported. So the first item was $574,000 that we spent on the high school roof in fiscal 2018. The way I had reported it was part of a building maintenance, and what the auditor had picked up on, it says, no, you have to report it as building rehab, which is very different than building maintenance, as building rehab does not count towards net school spending. However, building maintenance counts towards net school spending, where building rehab does not. So that actually reduced the amount of net school spending by $574,000. To just speak to that, where is the town in regards to net school spending? And again, this is the combination of the school budget and what the town spends on our behalf. I want to say it's just about $2 million over net school spending. So just to kind of pull it all together as to where we're at financially with what this report means to us. The second part is the Schedule 19, which this also deals with building maintenance, and again, this is like the town's portion, and, it's all the town's portion, because they oversee our building facilities. What had happened is I had separated out snow removal and field maintenance from building maintenance. They said, no, you need to combine those two for whatever reason. So both these items, I did file an amendment on the end-of-year report as soon as I received this information back in January. But I just wanted to speak to what the report
Sure.
is saying.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on that reports?
Nope, that's all.
Oh, thank you for your detail and your candor. Awesome.
Thanks.
And that next piece, I'll just intro on this one, we get to the FREC bids. This is, I think, a lot goes back to in that warrants and the reimbursements. And I'm going to ask the question of why, like, we start looking at reimbursements and someone buys something that's on a bid list, but they go off and get it their own. That's what really gets my ire up, and I think that's what people circumventing the system. But talk a little bit, Mr. Ledoux, about the French River and the collective bid award, please.
Certainly. So around March every year, we do a survey with each school as to what they think they're going to need for supplies for the upcoming school year. So typically what we get in central office is a list that, we're going to need 12 sets of markers, whatever various school supplies. That includes copy paper, athletic supplies, computer supplies, anything related, some things relating to food service. Almost every supply that you could think of to run a school district. French River runs this cooperative or collective bid, I'll say. So what happens is we kind of compile all this information in March or so, we send it off to FREC, and we are included with, 20 other districts that participate in this collective bid for school supplies. So what we have as part of your pack is we have a summary by category and then broken down by vendor as to how much we anticipate we'll be spending for next year. And again, this is all each school's conservative totals of what they think it will be. So it is kind of a moving target. It's our best guess as of the spring of the preceding year. I hope I didn't confuse anyone.
How does that coincide with the budget process?
So all of these items will be items that are paid for with fiscal '20 budget money. So what happens is French River takes all of these items, goes out to bid, awards it to the lowest responsible bidder, and then gives us back this information. So that's what you have is the detail in the packet. Then what we do, each school is now in the process of entering their fiscal '20 requisitions, effective 7/1. So all those requisitions will mirror what we need for supplies, what we're given as part of the survey back in March, and all those orders will be placed in the next few weeks, so they're ready for the start of school in late August, early September. So again, I hope I talked about the whole process, and I just wanted to let you know how it kind of works.
Which again, I'm just going to go back to my initial question.
Yes.
Which is reflective on the line item from the budget.
It's not exact, and I say that, I don't think I explained that well enough. It's their best guess in March as to what they need. Is everything exact? No, because what happens is sometimes people get to school, and then by November, we say, oh geez, we left out this item, now we need to go purchase it elsewhere. So we still follow our normal procurement procedures as far as soliciting 3 quotes or whatever it may be to get the best possible price. So just because the item purchased isn't on the FREC bid, we still do our due diligence to get the best price. I hope I answered your question.
Can I try? Okay. So in building the budget, we take into consideration what we used prior year before for supplies, and then we have to build in what we anticipate could be, whatever that slight increase would, maybe it's 1% or 2%, depending on that. And so that's what we build up for the budget for FY '20. When the bid numbers come in, hopefully they're lower than what we projected, so we have a little bit of wiggle room in case we need something or that happens. But the budget has to be built on an assumption, because we don't get the FREC bid back until then. And the same is true of the state bid list, because we do have items that are on the state bid list. It could be furniture, a desk or a chair or something of that nature. So there, we would possibly go look at this if it's not here, or it is here and it could also be on the state bid list. We want to see which one is the better price that we're going to put our order in for. And so that's where we would order for best price. But as far as the budget goes, we have to build a budget X number of months out ahead of time, so we make our best guess, and then we have to live within the means of that budget.
That's what I'm looking for. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I thought that's what you wanted.
Yes, exactly. Yes, okay.
Make sure.
All right.
All right.
Last one?
You go ahead, that was perfect, that was...
Let's ask a quick question.
Oh, sure, Mr. Franklin.
The copy paper estimate, is that an average number, 21,000? Is that what we normally purchase, copy paper?
It was
Almost
higher before
22,000.
than.
It did go up about $2 a case for this year, well, for the upcoming year, I should say. From my experience, it goes up and down because sometimes they have, we'll say, a surplus left over at the end of the year, so that,
Right.
it really,
Don't have to order as much.
correct, it really depends upon how much they went through the prior year.
I believe we cut down, and I wasn't here, but the prior year there was too much, so we reduced that copy, we reduced it, this FY '19 it was reduced, and it's pretty much cut about even. There may be a few cases hanging around, but not like, 100 cases kind of thing.
Yeah, because you would just love to be able to shift some of that money other places.
Right.
Just get-
And we try to really look at what we use
No, I get
and
it.
build the
Trust me,
actual
I get
budget,
it.
yeah.
I get it. You would hope that in this building that the use is a lot less, seeing we're 1-to-1, right? So you would hope there wouldn't be as much need, but I know there is obviously need. I'm in buildings, so I get it, but that number just jumped out at me. But thank you.
Just quickly, I'll jump ahead a little bit. as part of our new copier lease for the upcoming year, we did get PaperCut. I don't know if you're familiar with the software, but it's almost like an authentication. It is an authentication where you have to, either have a badge or a number to release your job. I did find an alarming number of copies being made, so to kind of address that, we're going to put that at all the copy machines throughout the schools. Hopefully that should reduce the amount of paper that's being consumed.
Great, thank you.
Yep,
Mrs.
thank you.
Phillips, go ahead.
Great.
I just had a question with regards to the use of paper since we started using the electronic backpack. Have we seen a decline in the paper that we're using? We should have a huge decrease.
Well, when you're talking electronic backpack, you're talking about flyers that are often from, whether it's an internal group or an external group. So if it was that, they would give our own, yeah.
Okay, sorry, my confusion, thank you.
No, it wasn't like, someone's,
Right,
use
not
the
school
infamous
stuff.
word dittoing, for those of us who know. The copies, they're not making, too many, that kind of thing, yeah.
Gotcha, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
Can I go backwards a bit?
Sure, go ahead.
So I'm looking back at that audit report. I'm just trying to understand what Schedule 19 was all about.
Oh, okay, so
That line item that you were talking about, and it said line item 7,450, column 5, should be increased from $106,100 to $380,845. And then it should be decreased, and it's supposed to be in operations and maintenance. I'm like trying to understand, what is that all about? What is this talking about?
Okay, so Schedule 19 is for the fiscal 19 budget. So this end-of-year report is for fiscal 18. However, in September, the state wants to know, well, what does your budget look like for 19? And it's a way just to measure, to make sure that you're meeting net school spending before you really start getting into the year. I know that doesn't really answer your question. What they're saying is, when you reported this, meaning myself,
Right.
I split out for field maintenance and snow removal. I recorded $106,000 on one line, and then for building maintenance, I coded it as extraordinary building maintenance, $274,000. And the auditor said, no, you don't report them separately. It all goes into building maintenance, all of it. Field maintenance, snow, all of it is considered building maintenance. So if you add the 106 and the 274, it comes to 380. So they're saying you should have combined the two on that line.
Okay.
It doesn't really impact.
I guess it doesn't and it does, because the field maintenance stuff, that was one of those agreements, correct me if I'm wrong, that we had with the town to come in here and take care of the maintenance of our field and the snow removal and whatnot. And to my recollection, it wasn't supposed to be $106,100. It was supposed to be less in regards to the MOA that we had. So I'm kind of confused why that number is so high. And then I'm wondering, that was FY19, and I kind of was under the assumption that there weren't going to be indirect costs anymore for snow removal and maintenance and whatnot, because other parts of the town aren't paying for those services. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. It's a timing thing. So when we had worked out with the former town manager, Mr. Palaya,
Yeah.
what had happened was, one issue I had is, the MOA set a fixed number.
Right.
It wasn't supposed to move. Snow removal stayed the same at roughly 26,000. Field maintenance went up slightly when I don't think it was supposed to. So the bottom line is, that's what we were assessed. So did it go up? Yes. Around September or October, when the new town manager came in, that's when we discussed, listen, this doesn't really make sense. We're having issues financially, and this is really hurting us by assessing us this, and it doesn't make sense when other departments don't pay this.
Right.
And she listened and said, listen, so that's a thing of the past. So for the fiscal 20 budget, our budget is not reduced on the back end before it even comes out, because that's what was happening with the indirect costs.
Right. So for clarification, for FY20, in operations and maintenance, what would be the total amount that we would have present?
It's going to be what's actually spent. which I can't speak to that. It's in the agreement that we have with the town. The finance director will be providing in September a report of what the actual amount was.
So we will get assessed for what is spent.
No, we will report what was spent.
We're
We'll
not
reduce our budget. What was happening before was the budget was getting reduced by that amount.
So we'll report it after the fact,
We'll report it.
right?
That's it.
And it won't reduce our budget.
Right.
Where before, it was reducing our budget year after year after year, because we were paying for snow removal, and we were paying for
Yes.
field maintenance, and none of the other departments in this town were. So for years, $100 and something thousand that we could be putting towards teachers and programs and things like that was not present to the school department, correct or not correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Right.
I will say it's allowed, it's certainly allowed.
Right? Yeah, but it's great that we're out of that past practice and we're into a new era here.
Correct,
and
we're
we're
very
going to do
thankful
right.
that the new town manager was willing to work with us on that,
Right.
because it was a hidden cost, we'll say, that we want to address. It was one of the
Right.
first things that we wanted to get rid of,
But that's why you see it in the audit, because you're looking at 18 and
Right.
19.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around it.
I can't
and
tell you that this
absolutely-
won't exist, because I certainly will report what the actual cost was. It's just the other part being our budget won't be reduced by that. It's simply for reporting purposes.
Right, okay. Sorry, I was just slow to wrap my head around all that. Thank you.
Thank you. At this stage, I'll entertain a motion to accept the FREC bids of June 21st, 2019.
I'll make the motion.
So move, we have a second.
Second.
And a second, any further discussion? Being none, roll call vote. Mrs. Forbes?
Yes.
Mr. Cannacchioli?
Yes.
Mrs. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooney, yes. Record show, 4 in the affirmative, 1 absent, and we are accepting those bids. And the last piece, Mr. Ledoux, the budget actual report through May, please.
So the very last item you should have in your packet is the budget to actual report through May 31st. Just a couple quick comments. And I sound like a broken record, but substitutes, those expenditures went up a little bit when spring hit, when the weather started to get nice. And the other thing that was a little shocking to me is I thought we had put enough in the utility lines, but yet May was colder than I had anticipated, so those went up slightly as well. At this point in time, we'll certainly end the year without any overall deficit, but I just want to make you aware, there was some changes to the utility lines and subs, and I feel like I chased this
Oh, yeah.
year after year, but that's all I have to report for you on this, but if anyone has any specific questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Board all set?
Just a
Yes, Mr. Cannacchioli.
Superintendent advertising?
Yes.
4,000, what is that?
That is for our, I believe, the School Spring software. So we have School Spring to advertise for
Open position.
for open positions and things like that. I believe it's $4,000
Yeah, 4,250.
a year, yes, so,
All right, so that's just school spring, that's.
Correct, school spring.
Advertising all jobs, okay.
If not, Mr. Ledoux is always available, and you can contact him, and he's very good with responses. All right, next up, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Owens.
I have it here somewhere, hold on, give me a second. I just wanted to bring to your attention, was sort of put on your table, we started the food program, and we did start it this past week. We got the approval on that Friday. I think we had met the last Monday, and we hadn't gotten the approval from the state yet till that Friday. And we rolled this out. We had our training. I know Justin went, Pat Hokinson went, and I actually went to a training also, because I felt it was really important to really know the ins and outs of this, because this is a little, well, it's a lot different than your yearly food service program. There are very different regulations that we have to conform with. If we make an error, we will not receive the reimbursement. And so then we're on the line for that. So we need to make sure that everything is in line. So again, this is rolled out. It's the first year that this has been rolled out. And Today, Monday, I gave you the counts of what we had for breakfast served and lunches served. In the training, they did talk quite a bit that things are going to ebb and flow quite a bit over the summer. People are in, people are out on vacation. They also, they said Fridays is usually a tougher day, so you can sort of see that. The first set of menus that went up, they're on the website, were generally sandwiches, but I do believe, starting this Friday, there will be pizza on Friday, which may be an attractive option for kids coming in. So far, so good. I mean, we are feeding our kids. Did talk with Mr. Want to see a few more of those kids coming in, at the high school level, to come in and eat before they leave. Be kind of nice, because they're on that half day, so we sort of went around there. The kids that are doing the rec department Carbuncle Pond area are coming in every day, coming in to eat also. As I think we have a good few number of the kids that are our middle school kids in the summer school program at the high school. And then the EduCare program, it's an option, so people are getting to know that. And hopefully, I'm gonna watch this, keep the counts and see how it goes through the summer. It's a lot of work. I think it's important to feed our kids, so it hasn't been done before.
Thank you. Mrs. Forster.
So my only question about the program, I think it's wonderful, and I appreciate all the work that you and Justin did to get this going for the kids. But my first question, comment / concern is that many of our students don't live within walking distance of any of the schools. And it might be some of our most needy kids who aren't getting the meals at home. And I know that we can't provide busing to get kids here, but are we targeting and getting the right kids as opposed to the convenience of the parents at EduCare, at the Carbuncle program?
Well, it's at all three sites. So you have the high school site, you have Clara Barton site, and once the Chafee program starts up, because it's when the physical building's open, it will also be at Chafee School. So
say a kid who lives on Joe Jenny Road, for example, cannot get to any of those schools safely twice a day. So I don't know if there's been any talk of that, or just something that I've thought of. I think it's a great program, and I'm not dogging on it in any way, shape, or form. But the idea is that children still have a place to go to eat.
Right.
What if they can't get there? And I know we cannot deliver meals, and I'm not asking for the moon.
Right. Yeah,
but just a question.
I don't have an answer for you for that.
Yeah.
The different in these programs, there's very strict guidelines. We are not a closed site, which means it would only be for a percentage of students that are within that building. We are open, so it's open to the entire community. But the consuming of the food must be in that physical plant. That's also a requirement of the federal regulation. So, I will let you know that at Clara Barton, beside the EduCare kids, we actually had a local daycare that brought the kids in. One of the local, I think there's a lot of daycare programs around that area, and they're bringing, I think as word gets out, I know it's all over Facebook, we've been plastering it everywhere. And again, it's our first year.
Right.
It's one of those pieces that as people get used to it, they know that hopefully we'll continue to do this, and it will be known, so that it's what we do for our kids in the summer. There are some other opportunities that are available food service during the school year. One of those is an additional dinner meal, which we absolutely need to look into, start the process with the state, so that our kids can get a meal. So again, everything is so many hours after your last meal, but for our kids that are doing sports team or after curricular activities, to be able to offer them a meal, because some of them, let's face it, they're at school a long time. They see us more than they see their parents. So to be able to offer that. So that's another piece that we need to really look at to help build up the food service program.
Okay.
But it doesn't answer your question. I don't have an answer for you.
And I know there wasn't really an answer, and that wasn't what I was looking for, but
Yeah.
just sort of a concern when I think, who are we really
Yeah.
targeting, and are they the people actually eating? And I don't have a problem with anyone eating by any means, so it's not in any way a negative statement, just a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, we just want people to really know. And again, like I said, you have to consume the meal.
In the plant, right?
Yep. We are sending on a field trip going, like those little mini field trips going out, the day trips. We have regulations regarding what signage has to be literally on the physical cooler. the training people have to have, because everything has to be temped. And we can expect, as you saw in my memo, not only is the state coming in, but Massachusetts has been selected by the FDA to send inspectors also. So if we do not follow that, we don't get reimbursed.
Okay.
So,
And who's monitoring that? That we're in compliance?
oh,
Is
the
that a-
state, no, the
No, no.
state sends in.
Who's making sure that we're going to pass and get reimbursed? Is that food service
It will-
director? Is
Food
that?
service director, Justin and I have been going down and checking it out, and I've been, we're making sure that
Okay.
everything's in line. And the training, we made sure that people were trained with backup subs in case someone's out. So we have enough people, because you have to have someone that is a site organizer, whether it's physically here, the other sites, or if it's on a field trip, there has to be someone that is in charge of the food. And basically, it's a count and a temping thing.
Okay, thank you.
And how much staff do you have presently in each building doing this?
We had put in for, the food service director, who's already on salary. We have one staff member at Barton, at Chafee when it's open, because Chafee's not open yet till the kids come in after July, but at Barton, and then we had backups.
Barton's not,
The other way, sorry. Barton, yep, sorry.
So,
Chafee's open, Barton's, yeah.
We're open now, and you probably had,
Educare is
At
there, so
Chafee.
it's when the school's open. So
and you have a little tighter knit neighborhood, tighter neighborhood in terms of proximity.
Yeah.
More walkers available where Barton is
How many are
close.
coming in walking? I know we have some,
Okay.
just don't have the number. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, it just started, yeah, it's word of mouth is
My
up.
kids are using it, so.
That's okay, okay.
That is awesome.
Yep.
So for clarification again, there's one staff member running this at Chafee?
Well, Pat oversees both, so you have one, call it a staff, or it's an on-site coordinator that's been trained. So you have someone physically, one person in charge, will be at Chafee, Barton, and the high school, plus Pat Hokinson. And then for any field trip going out in Educare, taking meals, you have actually someone we've also trained there to do that. They're not on staff full-time, it's only if they're going out on a field trip. They go Wednesday to some of these short places.
we have a list
We looked
to-
at additional staff, too. We trained, how many, 6?
We trained
it's in the
five food service employees as site supervisors and 3 Educare
Yep.
site supervisors. To get to a field trip or
Excellent.
backup. So 3 of them of the food service employees are permanent, and then we have 2 backups to them,
Excellent,
substitutes.
thank you.
It would be great to see who are the people that receive training.
Sure, we can get you that list, that's fine.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
I know that our town manager was very excited, and so was the Oxford, help me out, guys, my brain's mush, the community center, like with the Carbuncle Pond programs. This was a big discussion point as far as people that came to the splash pad opening and whatnot, and I think it's phenomenal that those kids can come up here for, the summer program.
When it gets really hot, it's a little air, it's cooler in that, it's cooler there. So it's a good, it's a good place. for them
Sounds
to-
like a lot of work, though, for everybody involved. And Justin, I heard people singing your praises up one side and down the other because you were very available for questions that the town had. And I know they reached out to you, and kudos to you because they were very happy with your responses. And they saw how much work that you did in this, and you should be praised for that. So thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
That's it. Okay, so now, we'll jump ahead to, you notice it's gone to the bottom, the warrant report, so Mrs. Forbes, you have a report every meeting, as in terms of the warrant is. It's already been accepted, so just a report out.
Yes. So the report for the warrants is that there was a payroll warrant dated June 13th, 2019 for $565,807.80. And there was an accounts payable warrant dated June 18th, 2019 for $24,805.09 that were signed.
Thank you. Next item of business, member requests, and Mrs. Forbes, still have the floor. Go right ahead.
So my question is that we need to circle back to, up under the recommended action, we never did talk about the vaccination information.
Okay,
I know it was included in our packet, but I think we overlooked it. If we could go back and look at that.
sure. And what in particular?
Well, you had a lot of questions about that, Dan, and I
Yeah.
just would like some clarification from the superintendent on this policy that was given to us in our packets.
Okay, it's a process, and I'm pretty good with that, but if you have certain questions, I did say earlier that there are steps for that, for notification for parents, and particularly at the end, is that what's a little different in the vaccination, I just re-jogged my memory, is that children who may be on a catch-up schedule and may have issues filing documentation should not be penalized and excluded from school. That's, which is, I did forget that, like, holy cow, that's right. So some kids do come in without them, but there is guidelines in there, as opposed, without residency requirement, there's also guidelines. I just want to make sure that, when I was looking at the guidelines, I wanted to see them. But if you have questions, go ahead, follow up.
I don't, is it a policy though, or a procedure? Because it says
procedure.
policy, but then you said procedure. This top says policy.
You have a district policy.
Okay. Which is in line with the state
And what is,
regulations.
can somebody read that policy into record? What is the policy? When are kids supposed to come in with their vaccination? Records being checked, because I know certain years in certain districts, that's the case,
For the state, I believe.
for the state. I think it has to happen
This is in
3 times.
compliance with what the state requires for their vaccination, so it's referenced there.
Find it in my lovely-
CMR
105
220,
CMR.
immunization of students before admission to school. And then the immunization program clarification requirements for students in K-1 and 2. So we have a policy that talks about your policy. You have 2 policies. One is on severe allergies. You
Right, I
have a
wrote that.
policy on, I'm trying to think what else the other policy is. I just read them last week.
Fragrance? A fragrance policy, too.
Yeah, so you have some direct policies related to health.
Right.
But this policy, immunization, is the procedures we're following because it's a compliance with the state.
Right.
So maybe a policy committee may want to look at putting something in with, developing a specific policy regarding whatever the state requires for that immunization of the track. You have to have this by this date.
Right, and I know it's up to the flexibility of each district that they could have certain years that they check it, and I usually think that those years coincide with when those vaccinations are given, like the
Correct.
age 12, most kids have, their last, vaccination
yeah.
before, and then at the high school, they have to have certain vaccinations. So I think, and I'm going to ask, our chair, if he thinks this is wise, if we could have Elaine, who I believe is the overhead of our school nurses, come in and just, give us an update, because she would know it best. What are those specific years that parents have to show up with that immunization information? And then maybe if we could just have it on the website for the fall, so parents are aware and they get that heads up that, don't forget, you have to have these records when you enter, at the beginning of the first week of school for these specific grades.
I think the immunization records, I know it's part of the residents, when they register, we already have this.
Well, we know that, and that's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about
No, I don't know if that what you're talking about.
Current
No,
vaccination.
actually, I'll put it right now, Helen, up for our next meeting, which will be our August meeting, our back-to-school meeting. I think that's a great idea,
Yeah.
to have the nurse in and to talk about what the process is.
Right, because I know, like, for example, middle school, the kids have to come in with,
People need to.
they must, it's a requirement by law that they have to come in with their vaccinations at certain times.
Good point.
And I think that's one thing that gets parents kind of like, if you don't know it, it can catch you off guard, and then your kid, like Mr. Coonan was talking about the last meeting, some schools don't allow the child to enter because they're not vaccinated. Because it's the law, like the school
Can I
nurse
also
can't let you in.
add to that request? Just, although it's not my meeting.
Right.
Just that maybe she should probably also go over the requirements for the physical, the physician has to clear someone before they can play sports.
Yes.
I think that's important that, so even if the nurse comes and says, parents just need to know this, and then we can also point to where you can find this information on the website.
Right.
And it's not just the physician, which is the current physical, but then the nurse has to sign off that the student can play the sport after the nurse reviews the physician's documents, that they're eligible to play, as well as an administrator.
And that might help our school nurses incredibly, because I know the paperwork to chase all that down, it's just so time-consuming.
And people want everything yesterday. I totally agree.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Great point, thank you. Anything else?
That was it for me, thanks.
Yeah, Mr. Rockwell.
Thanks, Mr. Coon. Just a couple things. Some of these are just, I don't know, kind of parent-type things, but robocalls that the district sends out, is it possible that we maybe could consider having them be more personal?
I try to do the voice myself, I mean, snow calls, yeah, I know that we've had some.
Yeah, we get a lot of them, and I just wish they were more personal. So that's, just a
I can talk to
consideration.
my
you
administrators
guys
about that
to
when
take
I
a look
set it up,
at.
yeah.
Mr. Connectney, I'll just hop right in on them as well, too. I know when you call here, you still get the former principal and the former secretary's voices around the machines. Yeah, update in terms of who's in charge and what's going on, yes, just to
Okay.
update those, yes.
That would be great.
Automation.
Second thing, I agree, the summer lunch program through the federal grant is awesome, and it's, a work in progress. There'll be things that we need to look at and adjust. And we're about feeding kids, and believe me, I'm all for it. A question I have is, on half-days in this district, do we feed the students?
Not in half-days, no. When we do
Okay.
a half-day, they're not, no.
Okay, so in my district, we do, and I think it is a federal requirement that I was told. I haven't researched enough to look, but maybe we could take a look into that. I'm not sure if it's a requirement, that's what I was told. But even if it isn't, maybe that's something we should look at, because, those kids are gonna, some of these kids, we have them, they're gonna go home. It can be an abbreviated lunch, it is, the principals are probably saying, keep quiet, you're a principal, now you're making more work for us, but might have to adjust or tweak a schedule a little bit, but it's something I would consider that we take a look at, explore those options, because we have them here. Unlike this program where we gotta get them to us, we have them in-house that day, and it'd be nice to be able to offer them a lunch. This is, one thing that, since I became a part of the district, it's been a concern of mine since 2010, literacy data. So I'm just concerned, I would like to know what data we are looking at as an administrative team as we close out the fiscal 18-19 school year. What are we looking at for data? What is our plan for interventions, that type of stuff? Because that's been a concern of mine, again, since I've been in this district. We have students moving up to the next grade who are significantly behind, or we had, I'm not saying we do, but we've had in the past kids who are multiple grade levels behind reading. So I'd like to know what the beginning data looked like in the fall, where we're at in the spring, if there was any middle data maybe. But I just would like to know what data sources are we using, when are we looking at it, and what's our plan? So that I would like to, petition through the chair if that's some data that I could take a look at. I'd like to congratulate the class of 2019. I didn't get a chance last meeting. I was unable to get to the graduation because I had an event at my school, but they were a class that I met in the 7th grade, and there was just wonderful kids in that grade. So congratulations to the class of 2019. Good luck as you move on in the future. And I'm just going to throw this out here because this has been on my mind when I used to sit at that table. It's very intimidating, as you guys all know, right? Sometimes it can be intimidating sitting up front there. Have we ever explored as a board and as a school department holding these meetings at Town Hall? They have a facility there, a nice facility already set up, state-of-the-art, and I just didn't know if we've ever considered that. So I just wanted to throw that out for either a future discussion or something we can talk about later. But that is it for my second meeting, and thank you. Have a great summer to everybody, and we'll see you back in the fall.
Thank you, and just really quickly to the last point, Dave, I sat in that chair for 9 years as Board of Selectmen. I talked about intimidating. When you look down and you sit on the other side, it's a little different.
Is it?
Because now you are looking up.
Bit higher.
But this is up to the board members. I feel we should hold our meetings within our schools. This is our community room. Yeah, we can petition town hall. If there's something happened that come up, they used to rotate the meetings all the way around at all different schools. Now, when they're televised, we have the process here. But it's something we can
Just throw
discuss.
it out there.
Yeah, throw it out there.
Just always thought, wondered
Yeah, it's
why.
always something else. All right, Mrs. Griffin.
First off, I'd just like to, comment Helen, give Helen kudos for the wonderful minutes she types, and I'm appreciating the fact that certain things are underlined to give us, draw our attention back to, things that we need to follow up on as committee members. That was maybe it's something she's always done and it's just finally jumping out at me, or maybe it's a new addition, because God only knows Helen. Sometimes I think I'm a little slow to catch up, but that has helped me a lot, a great deal.
I'm glad you enjoy that. I have to admit that was done purely for selfish reasons. That I would follow up on them.
You know what?
That's nice.
I just have to sing your praises, because that helps me tremendously, and I'm sure the other committee members as well, because it draws our eyes to things that, going through these minutes, I mean, God bless you, like, the last minutes were 6 pages long. That's just, it's a lot of detail, and, but everything in here is very much needed, and it helps other folks too that go over and review the work that we're doing, and having things underlined was just awesome. So thank you for doing that and taking the initiative to do that. And then,
And actually, Pat, I'm going to
Yeah.
jump in real quick on that one too. And also the timeliness and the fashion that they.
Oh, yeah.
The next day.
Next day.
When you're debriefing the
Sometimes
meeting,
same
you put it away, and you go on to the next phase of your life, and you go to your job, and also you get the minutes. Now you have them right there on your phone. Like, that's right, this is what we talked about, this is my homework for the week.
Still
Right.
You
fashion.
know what I'm looking up and going to the next one, that's.
I know, it's like 24
unbelievable.
hours, not even, sometimes
Yeah,
it's that night.
turn off that.
You like turn on your computer and like, oh, Helen's been working all
Definitely keep us on
night.
toes, yeah. Go ahead, Ms. Griffin, sorry.
So, no, I just want to sing your praises. We are very blessed to have you, and this is beautiful work. And then kind of following up, we did have one discussion that we had at our last meeting in regards to knowing, and this was through you, Mr. Coonan, the district, how do we make transitions for students when they enter high school or any of our buildings in regards to, 504s or accommodation plans and whatnot? That's something that I'd still like to understand better. What are we doing in regards to helping our parents and our students make those transitions? And I'm sure that there is some type of a process. I'm just not aware of it. And I don't know if our parents are aware of it too. Who's the face that they see? When do they have that FaceTime? What's the timeline to be expecting contact from the school and whatnot?
So if we can get a report to Ms. Griffin within a couple of weeks, I know that it is now in the summer months.
Right.
As we're prepping to go back, so within even a month. If we get the report back about a month, so we'd be able to, when people go back to school, and we get those phone calls, like this is the next process and where to direct people, instead of saying, hey, call your building principal. If we have protocols in front of us, cuts down a lot of paperwork and aggravation of people trying to get through. It's the
Right.
first day, the phones do ring a lot, and people get very busy and they get very frustrated. Usually busing, but there's a lot of things, but yeah, after that is busing, so everything. Okay, very good.
And one more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Every year, I believe that this committee is supposed to get some type of report from our SPED PAC in regards to, what's been going on, and we should have a liaison that kind of works with us, giving us updates, and we should probably have some type of representation with a school committee member attending their meetings. And all the years that I've been on this committee at this point, I just don't feel like there's a lot of that type of communication going on. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, I'll be 100% honest, I'm clueless. So we do have you here tonight, and you can certainly speak to that, but I don't know of their wonderful work, and I'm embarrassed to say that. And I feel like they should have an opportunity to come here and work with us, kind of give us updates.
The SPED PAC in this district is pretty much low-key.
Okay.
I do the yearly presentation that needs to happen as far as the annual rights workshop, but other than that, we can't tell them what to do. They reach out to me for guidance as needed, but what happens a lot of times in districts, if things are going well, then the PAC isn't as strong as if things aren't going well.
Okay.
I've offered the opportunity to provide workshops, to provide in-service training, things of that nature. I think that part of it has to do with the fact that at this point in time, the officers in the PAC, the students are closer to graduation, turning 22, et cetera. And I usually see a trend where once those students move out, then usually it ends up being more parents that are early childhood, elementary level, and then they gear it up again.
Okay.
So, that's where we're at this point in time. We're providing what we need to, and I can encourage, but, their meetings, they don't have to invite me to. I'm always available because it's usually in the school.
Right.
So that's where we're at this point in time. The SPED PAC, as well as I think there's a need on some level for our ELL staff, our ELL parents PAC. In another district, what I did was to combine them to try to get the two populations together, to try to develop more of a joint pack, and it's something that definitely I need to focus in on in the next couple of years, now that CPR is done and things of that nature that have been completed in the district.
Yeah, I mean, they've been, in my opinion, extremely silent in all these years. I haven't heard of any of the work that you've done with them, honestly, besides the training that you might give them. And other than that, limited experience, just, when we made the shift in transportation to go with Vanpool, there was a lot of members, I'm sure, that were present, and the parents were very appreciative of what was happening in regards to that. But other than that, I mean, it's been crickets for me. And so I just don't want to be missing concerns that maybe constituents have, because I'm not aware of their meetings or whatnot. So I'd like to just be notified when they're having their meetings, per se. I'm sure it's posted, and I apologize, and it's something that it's been an oversight on my part. I don't want to miss something that I should be at.
All right.
So, thank you, and that's all.
Okay, thank you. All right, I do have a couple of housekeeping items and a few other items here, too. First, I've been reminded, and I'll remind that I know the superintendent Dr. Liz has focus groups, and she has scheduled meetings, and they will be starting on Wednesday, July 17th, from 10 to 11:30. Where will these meetings be held?
They're going to be at the central office in the conference room.
Right in the central office, 10 to 11:30 on Wednesday. Thursday, the 18th, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. We'll talk about mission and vision, which is some rehash from our last meeting. Wednesday, July 24th, 3 to 4:30, district priorities. Thursday, July 25th, 3 to 4:30, mission and vision statement. Friday, July 26th, 10 to 11:30, district priorities. Tuesday, July 30th, 6 to 7:30 p.m., district priorities. And Wednesday, July 31st, 1 to 2:30 p.m., district priorities. I believe these are also posted on the website.
And we sent out a doodle poll to all 70 people who had said they were interested, so that they could click, so we, and then it's up there, so anyone else, we just would like people, so we have a clue how many, if we get too big, we'll need to move it somewhere.
And that's a great way, I mean, there's always to join your school advisory council, but this is a really way that focus groups to get involved in the schools. People always feel how they're excluded at the schools, that this big, even, you hear it from other political groups in town, or the Board of Selectmen, or what is the school committee too, what happens in the schools. Here's a way for residents to get involved directly with their schools, the nuts and bolts of operation. If you have a child in the school, you get on the parent advisory council, but this is working right with the superintendent on the mission, vision, and district priorities of planning. People have been begging for this for years. Now here's the opportunity for you to please join.
And that's, Mr. Coonan, open to everybody, including other members of other boards, correct?
That's correct. It's open, and you didn't have to pre-sign up. Please come. Please be a part of it. I think
We just made sure that the 70 people who said they wanted to be a part of the focus group, all were invited and given multiple choices of dates and times. We want to make it so as convenient as possible with different, timeframes for people.
Yes, that's huge.
Super, thank you.
Okay. And the last piece that I have, just in terms of I have other pieces, but a revised field trip form has been revised. Helen's spent quite a little bit of time on working this and putting together all of our policies, and attached that is the form. I don't know if the committee wants to send this back to the policy group, or we'll get a chance to review it, and we'll approve it tonight. Pleasure of the board. Again, these are all current policies.
Right.
And Helen has done the work to say, okay, what's working in our form, and has tweaked the form. As you know, it's much different of where the program is.
Right, and I know that, I can speak to the allergy policy, because I sat there and wrote it extensively, because that was something that I had grave concerns that we weren't giving EpiPens and whatnot and training our staff, and that was something we worked on. I do have concerns about school nurses on field trips and medication delegation and how that happens, and in regards to the state too, because I could be mistaken, and Elaine, I think I'm saying her name right, I can't ever pronounce her last name, and I apologize, our director of nursing here for our district. She could probably speak better to it, but I think that whoever's going to give medication on any of these trips has to have training from the state in regards to delegation of that medication, and she has to make sure that that's done. So, I just want to make sure that we're in compliance with the policies that we have set, and if we don't have a policy, if we need to write them, we get that done for field trips.
I'm a little confused on that. Like, okay, so I know if my child was taking medicine and my child went on a field trip, so if there was like an overnight field trip, like both of them have attended student council, one of them attended like ROTC,
Right,
and if she was taking medicine,
right.
for instance, penicillin, because she just had some teeth up, so would a nurse have to go on that trip to administer that medication to her?
I believe so. I believe medication has to be, there has to be a doctor's order in place, and then somebody
It
has...
should be a prescription.
It's a prescription, but...
Prescription drug, yes.
Right, and it has to be administered by a nurse. Unless it's an EpiPen, or unless it's an inhaler, I think there's some exceptions in regards to those things.
You can have someone, it's a medical designation or delegation.
Right.
Which is it's a form that goes into the state and the nurse looks at it, and they receive training that you don't overdose someone, or that they can actually administer, but you have to have that in line with, registered with the state. This is something that I mentioned to you last time that we're looking into, because we have to do that.
Right.
So.
And I know
we haven't had it in this district.
Correct.
So it's something that we're looking into to make sure that we have that designation,
Right.
get that designation done.
There's a little more insight here.
Yeah.
So I can't really speak for like the rest of the school district as far as like overnight field trips or anything like that go, but being one of the former coordinators of the EduCare program, every one of our staff is trained for all that sort of stuff, and based on state law that I had looked up for this case, anybody over the age of 18 who has been properly trained can administer medication to a child in any circumstance.
What's CMR?
What was that?
What's the law?
What's the law?
Law.
It would be a CMR, it'd be a Commonwealth Prosecutors Regulation, I believe. And then what's the number on that?
I don't have that in hand at the moment. I have that in my office, actually. I can get that for you, though.
You can.
Yeah, if you could, just, yeah.
Yeah, I can get that for you.
Okay.
But just the thing that kind of concerns me a little bit with the whole nurse going on field trip thing is that, like, teachers and other chaperones aren't required to be first aid trained or anything like that when they go on these field trips. So if a nurse goes for a class of like 120 kids, is that one nurse going to cover all 120 of those kids?
Just like in a school day, there's one nurse to cover 400 students sometimes.
And for EduCare, we have 25 to 30 staff covering 90 to 100 kids.
Right, and I really don't think it's legal. I'll be quite honest with you. I question that significantly, and that's due to conversations I've actually had with Mass Department of Public Health, and this goes back to 2016, because this district did not give teachers training for EpiPens until that time, until I made sure that we were doing that. And part of the issue was there was concerns because the nursing staff here didn't believe in delegating medication. And I had grave concerns because giving a child Tylenol or something like that, you have to have a doctor's order in place, and if there was other medication, people had to have training and whatnot, and that was clearly stated through the Mass Department of Public Health. So if we have a program, EduCare, per se, doing these things, and saying that you guys have the authority to do those things, I want to know who gave you that authority. Where is it in writing? Where is it from the Mass Department of Public Health? Who signed off of it? Who's the physician that's overseeing your program? Because we have to have a physician as a school district to do this, and we pay them. So, you're saying that all these things are happening, and you're saying it's on the up and up, and I'm saying right now, I don't I don't think it is.
Okay, we'll hold it right there, we'll hold discussion.
So,
Can we get clarification through Dr. Liz on where this process stands? I think Palmina brings up some very good points. You offer some very helpful counterpoints.
Right.
But we have to just read that regulation.
Absolutely.
And incorporate into a process, including the educare. Should their nurse be on staff for that many students? Like if you're running sports camps, we really, if we need legal counsel opinion, we need that, because we do want to make sure that we are following the intent and letter of the law.
And that's why we've covered our bases at Educare for the past several years that I've been there, with making sure that all of our staff are properly trained. Because again, you have one nurse going on a field trip with 100 kids, and he, or whoever is the only one that knows any sort of medical background for helping a kid if they drop to the ground and need CPR. So it's like.
Is it, okay, so, excuse me, so is it a requirement for all educated employees to be health, safety, CPR trained?
We've made it one, yes.
So that's a requirement of all employees?
When I stepped up as one of the coordinators a couple years back, before taking this job, we made that a requirement, because before it was only supervisors that were trained, but we only have 4 or 5 supervisors. So now we made it so that every one of our 20, 25, 30 staff, depending on our summer allotment of kids, all of them are trained with CPR, AED, first aid, and medication administration.
And do you have an AED on site?
Yeah.
And then when you travel, it travels with you as well on the bus?
Yeah. Yeah, and I know, like, you had asked September about the Dinosaur Place having, like, an infirmary, whatever the word is for it, nurse's station or something on site. I believe that they do. It's been a few years since we've gone there, but it has been approved in the past, so that was just my concern the last meeting when you guys were talking about the nurses and everything, because we've never done that. And we've had kids that have had severe medical issues in the past, and it's up to the parent's discretion if they want to send their kid or not. They don't have to go. And if the parent wants to go, like, we've had kids with feeding tubes, we've had kids with diabetes, we had one kid that stopped coming because he aged out, but he had a tube that was going right into his heart. And so whenever there was a trip that involved any sort of water couldn't get into that tube, so the mom came with us every trip. And so that was her discretion.
So who trained you?
One at a time, excuse me, one at a time, please.
No, mine too. Who trained you to administer medication?
The fire department.
The fire department, okay.
Okay, Mr. Knackle, next.
Now we're just going off and.
This is really easy.
I mean, so if the parent couldn't come on that trip, you can't deny that student the access to go onto that trip. So there will need to be a nurse on that trip. So obviously, in these situations where parents can come, that's great, but I think what we'll have to do in the policy committee is just take a hard look at this. I'm researching some of the laws right now. I mean, do we have a district physician?
We do.
Okay, beautiful. So there's some other things that we'll have to look at in that policy, but again, if that parent says, no, I can't go, we can't tell the kid you're not going. We have to provide a nurse to go on that trip because he has significant medical issues, so.
But hold on, that's the policy, because also remember too, there's a free and appropriate education, but this is something that is being paid. This is a paid service.
Right.
That is,
not part of the
this is not curriculum based.
I'm going beyond education. We're talking field trips in general.
In general, right, education's a little different animal with this, right. So, but yeah, so Tyler, we'll close it up real quick.
Yeah, I just had one concern as a parent. Happened to me this school year. School nurse went on a field trip. My child does have an authorization for medication. I had sent an email to the school nurse notifying her there was probably going to be an issue, and around lunchtime she was going to be coming for that Tylenol. School nurse was on a field trip unbeknownst to me. I end up getting a phone call from the substitute nurse who has no clue. Long story short, she didn't end up getting any medication that day. So I guess I would like to suggest or request that if we are requiring a nurse on the school field trips, that it not be the primary school nurse, that it does come from the pool, because that's 100 some odd children who are gone on the field trip, and that leaves 300 some odd who are still in the school. And it's just a little bit disconnected, I think.
Yeah.
So, and then just a question for you. 5 rights of medication, is that how your people are trained on medication? The 5 rights, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Just for my own understanding.
Yeah, whichever, again, I only know, based off of what they've trained us with. So whatever the fire department trains their, like with their CPR and their certification courses are, that's what we've been trained with.
And the first aid CPR AED does also include, for me anyway, and for my people, EpiPen. Do you
Yes.
also have that training? Okay,
Yep.
great, thank you.
Yep. And then to follow up with the question before about when vaccines and stuff need to be updated, I'm just going based off of a form that Elaine has provided to us for registration purposes that we can hand out to parents. Doesn't say immunization specifically, but it does say state mandated routine exams are also required for grades 4, 7, and 10. And this is after, there needs to be one for kindergarten, and then any newly enrolling student into the district needs an updated health record form. So obviously, that's not based off of age, it's based off of grades. You might have kids younger or older going into that grade, so it might vary, but there's those state mandated physical exams. Usually they would provide those immunizations during those exams. So I can't speak for the nurse, obviously, but I'm just going based off of what I have.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Pelzowski, you
Yeah,
have
just
something?
quick on the Mass Gen CMR, there is a provision, and it's a provision for prescription medication administration in the case of field trips and other short-term special school events. Every effort shall be made to obtain a nurse or school staff member trained in prescription medication administration to accompany students at special school events. When this is not possible, the school nurse may delegate prescription medication administration to another responsible adult, written consent, it goes on and on. I sent you an
Right.
email, Dan, I didn't have it.
Okay, that's right, thank you, yeah, I'll look at it.
Yeah, and I just think, again, that is
that's
something that we
improvement.
have not done. We have not had a delegated person unless one of those people, like tonight, can speak up and say, I've had that training, I've had that delegation, and I know it. And those things should be posted on the wall in the school nurse's office, and I know that that's a common practice that most districts do, is they post the delegation orders and who has had the delegation and whatnot, so somebody could walk in and see, okay, this is who's responsible,
All right,
so.
we can bring that up again when
Yeah.
we decide to make it an agenda item. All right, I have two more things. The Dr. Lewis, teacher staffing. What are we looking at for staffing for the summer? You have open positions, you have non-renewals.
Yeah,
What do
we had, we had quite, we had a number of retirements. We had a non-renewal, and we replaced, or we're in the process of onboarding. I think I onboarded like 4 people today, actually.
sorry, what's that?
Onboarding, when they come in, they meet me, we look at, they sign a contract,
said
then they
okay.
go through the whole process, payroll, W-2s and all that, all that onboarding things.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, we're looking at that, so the positions that have been vacated are going to be filled. We are then looking at what we have potential, I want to call it breakage, between someone who may have retired and someone who's coming in at a lower rate, because we have some priorities that we have discussed with the school committee. One of those priorities is the administrative assistant, so to speak, for Claire Barton, because it's actually larger than the middle school. And we have we're looking at what that job description would potentially say, because the jobs, we're developing that. The other one is an English teacher at the high school. We had a lot of discussion, we talked about a history teacher at the middle school, that was also a need, but the administrative team in working out felt that that English teacher at the high school is necessary because they were reduced. Everyone else sort of has, scheduled like 6, and they were down, I want to say they were down to 5, it might have been 4, so they really do need, we have one person who sees every single kid at a particular grade level, which you kind of need, if you have a split or 2 people to do that. So we're looking to see what we can put on board to add staff, with a clear understanding that we don't want to add staff if we have to look at a reduction. We don't want to hire someone and then lay someone off. So we're looking very clearly at the budget to see what we can do with that.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I just ask a clarifying question?
Go ahead.
The position at Claire Barton, is that a new position?
It would be a new position.
That's something that would have to be approved by us, Chair?
Not necessarily.
No? New position? Doesn't,
No,
okay.
no, if it's within the budget constraints in that type of line item, if we're moving money, yes. For a
It
new
was already
position.
in the...
If your budget, your
budget, yeah.
Yeah, your
budget
budget money,
already?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
And since we're on this discussion, and it was brought up, so it would be nice to get some type of an update at the next meeting about who's been hired and
Oh,
what
yeah,
positions
yeah.
and whatnot.
So-
And then I know in the past, we've had issues with class sizes in grade 4 and grade 3. I know that we're still kind of waiting for an enrollment for kindergarten and how many students are coming in. Just for clarification, what's the
would have to
staff
wait,
level
yeah.
going to be there for kindergarten? I know there was talk before that there was looking at
Currently,
reduction.
we have, because I just checked on this today, 86, 87? 86, 87 registered set entering kindergartners. And so, we didn't know if we were going to we were looking at hitting a certain number, like in the high 80s, which we have. So there will be 5 kindergarten teachers. We had talked if the number came in lower than that, because we didn't know what that registration was going to be, that we may reduce there, but we're not going to reduce there. So you'll have 5 kindergarten teachers
Okay.
for next year. So right now, I think the class size, Rob, we just went over that today.
Nice.
If it's the 87, there's 4 more that are pending. So if it's 87 and 17.2, I'll deal with the .2s. Those are- And then if it goes up to the 92, we'll be at 18.
Which is not bad.
Yeah.
Those are good.
Not bad,
For
yeah.
5 teachers, that'd be great.
Excellent, thank you. And then lastly, it's come to my attention over the last month or so, or something like that, that there's a policy, and there's no written policy for it, I've been looking for it, about working from home. We're a school-based district, we service kids, and I just really don't understand it. And so what I'm going to ask the committee tonight is just to make a quick policy right now to end the practice immediately, but to send it out to committee that maybe there is a reason people are working from home, and that's not really our job tonight, is a fact-finding, but I just really don't understand, and maybe there's valid reasons. Great. So if we just end the practice and then we get to send out to committee, and for the committee to develop a policy of working from home, and that with input from the administrative team. Because I know as a teacher, and I know we can't ask our teachers to, we set the example, and I really don't understand it, but maybe there are valid reasons, and we can talk about that later. So I entertain that motion to end the practice immediately of working from home, and to submit this to the policy committee for review to develop a policy.
I second that motion. I think that
Yeah.
that should not be a practice personally, but.
So you moved and
Moved and seconded?
Second,
Yep. All right.
Yes, yes.
Any discussion?
I guess I just have concerns to hear that there's such a practice that's been happening in our district, and I don't know too much about the details, but I think it's really important that when people are hired to work in this district, that they're putting in the full hours and the full amount that they need to do for the day here. And my expectation is they do. And I guess if there's any areas where we have concerns that somebody is not doing that, that it's recorded and followed up on by this committee. And if we have to, look into something that is a concern, that we have some type of a process where we're logging, excuse me, I'm losing my mic, where we're logging whoever's attendance we have concern about.
But then there's lack of a policy.
Right.
So everything's interpretive.
Okay.
So there's no single out or anything like that. There are reports. We're just going to end it. We're going to send it to committee, and we're going to take a long look at it, and maybe there are valid reasons,
Okay.
and we go from there. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank
All
you.
right, all right. Roll call vote, Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
Mr. Cracco.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Coonan, yes. So the practice is, so for an affirmative, one absent, so the practice is stopped immediately, but it is going to committee, and we can get input from administrative team leaders and anyone else within the district that does use this policy, that does use this, if they are using it. Again, it's just a report, so we'll end it from there. Okay. Anything else? No. At this stage, we do have a brief executive, next regular meeting is Monday, October 26, 2019.
October?
August.
August.
I was like, wow, we got
If business, please contact me. I know the first meeting is usually pretty large agenda, and who's on the building committee with me? And then also, September, you are, right?
Yep.
And I know what we did last year is do a tour of the buildings.
Tour of the building.
Probably before that meeting.
Okay.
And then everyone's welcome to go through that. And I know I'm really excited to see the ACE program and the work that's done down there in the summer. One of the new places is going on. I hope we have painting and construction, a little bit of construction.
That's our middle school, yep, yep, middle school, and then the front overhang. So we'll see how long it takes. We'll have to do one at a time, because we'll have to shut off entrances if it takes a little bit longer, because by the time the bid's awarded, et cetera, so.
That's the time, that's the summer's time to get it done. Very good. Okay, we'll be entering a very quick hopefully quick, but executive session, MGL Chapter 38, subsection, Section 21A, subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining as necessary to protect the bargaining position of the public body. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
It's been moved and seconded.
Second.
All those in favor, roll call vote. Mrs. Forbes?
Aye, yes.
Mr. Connectney?
Yes.
Mrs. Griffin?
Yes.
And myself, Red Record Sheriff, for an affirmative, with one absent. We are now in executive session. Master and Claire, thank you.